The Puck Portfolio with Andy MacNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. I'm your host, Andy MacNeil. This show is sponsored by NorthStar Bets. Check them out via the link in the description below. Also presented by CanadaSportsBetting.ca. I'm here on weekdays to provide NHL projections, betting advice, and strategies to help you make informed bets throughout the season. And it's been a good run. Double-digit units, double-digit return on investment. We've got down on a lot of great numbers. Did so again on Thursday. Unfortunately, things did not go our way. Went 1-2. The Avalanche got the win, minus 161. Nice buy low spot for the Avalanche. It was a bit of a sweat, but they came through in the end with the victory. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes, who we had at minus 104, who closed as a much bigger favorite than that, and the Vegas Golden Knights that we had at plus 117, failed to get the job done, both losing in close games. The Hurricanes in extra time, the Vegas Golden Knights falling short of a comeback after tying the game 4-4. Unfortunately, but let's move on. We'll look at Friday and Saturday's games because there is a lot of them. Unfortunately, I don't think there is a ton of value on either of these two slates, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but there are some plays that I like. I locked in the Flyers for Friday against the Detroit Red Wings. Of course, the Flyers on the second half of a back-to-back. They suffered their first regulation loss since November 28th on Thursday against the Nashville Predators. They're in Detroit taking on the Red Wings, who have had 1 day off. David Perron should be back or expected to be back in the lineup after serving his 6-game suspension. And James Reimer expected to start in goal. No confirmation yet from the Flyers, but it looks like Carter Hart will be in goal for the Flyers because he has been dealing with an illness, but he was back at practice, backing up Sam Ersson in last night's game. So Hart probably will be in goal for the Flyers, and that's who I am expecting. That's who the model is listing here. The Flyers, plus 111, according to the model. So I locked them in earlier, actually got a great price on them, around plus 123. Unfortunately, things just started to move down to plus 117. They were still going to be good for a half-unit play, and they moved again. Now they're at plus 107 at NorthStar Bets. And you might be able to find maybe plus 114 out there in the market if you shop around, but that is not a very big edge at all. Plus 117, the best price in market, not widely available at all. Montreal, I have some interest in the Canadiens here. Of course, they're playing the Blackhawks, arguably the worst team in the NHL. But the Canadiens, not exactly a team that I like to, I guess, back in these spots where they're not a big underdog. We've seen them lately. They've played some close games. They've won some games as a big dog. This is a situation where, these two teams are relatively evenly matched. I guess they're both among the worst teams in the NHL. But Montreal is a team that the model has been consistently higher on than the market, and that worries me a little bit, seemingly telling me to bet on the Canadiens in every other night. So I don't like that, but the Canadiens are a team I'm considering here for Friday night, but in all likelihood, I'll end up passing on that one probably because, I'm just trying to get to the break here. We've had a good run here. I'm not going to force anything that I don't think is going to be profitable in the long term, is going to help grow my bankroll here in the long term. So moving on to Saturday, I do have some interest in one of the first couple of games on the slate, and that's the Dallas Stars and the Nashville Predators. So the Predators, they haven't beat the Stars since the 2021-22 season. Nashville lost all 4 games versus Dallas in 2022-23, but we know the Stars have not been playing up to their standard lately. We know that they're without starting goaltender Jake Ottinger. It's a big reason why they've been to overtime in each of their last 3 games. Things not going in easy for the Stars and vice versa. Nashville, though, they aren't as good as Dallas. Let's be honest about that. But assuming UC Saros is in goal for the Predators, they've got a big edge in the crease over Scott Wedgwood and the Dallas Stars. The Predators have been a lot better on defense as of late as well over the last 16 games or 31 days, allowing just 2.46 goals per 60 minutes. The Stars, they've been better on offense, but not a big gap here, especially when you consider that they've graded out among the bottom 10 teams in goals against during that stretch over the last month. So I'm locking in the Nashville Predators at plus 114. That's a half unit play, 0.5 units to win 0.57 units Locking in that right now at NorthStar Bets plus 114. Nashville to beat the Dallas Stars. So that'll be an interesting one. We got the Vegas Golden Knights and Florida Panthers. This one is a bit tough to price. We don't know who's going to be in goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. Adin Hill, of course, out of the lineup right now. He's on the shelf. Should be back relatively soon. Logan Thompson, though, listed day to day. Of course, Yuri Patera getting the start on Thursday in Tampa Bay. Not sure if Thompson will be back for the Vegas Golden Knights in time for Saturday's game, but we'll wait and see. Elsewhere, the Boston Bruins and Minnesota Wild. Minnesota, they've been playing really well lately. Their underlying metrics jumping off the page. They've been, one of the best teams in the NHL in a lot of respects over the last little bit. But of course, injuries playing a big role here in why the price is where it's at. Jared Spurgeon, maybe back on Saturday, might not be. Jonas Brodin, he's going to be out until January. Matt Zuccarello out of the lineup now as well. Not looking good for the Wild as far as, the health of their roster. It's going to be a tough test. Again, they got the win over Boston last week in overtime 4-3, or earlier this week. I'm all mixed up, but not too long ago. In the last week, they've got a win over the Boston Bruins 4-3 in overtime, but according to the projection model, Boston should be a minus 129 favorite. Of course, the Bruins, they've got a great goaltending tandem, so it doesn't hurt them as much to play 2 games in 2 nights. They're in Winnipeg on Friday playing the Jets. Talked about the Stars and the Preds. Why I like the Preds. The model thinks Nashville should be a plus 107 underdog, so some value there, enough for a half unit play here. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, man, absolutely spanked by the Buffalo Sabres on Thursday. Just looked awful doing it. Austin Matthews said collectively it was probably the worst game that he's been involved with since becoming a Maple Leaf. So it was a low point for the team for sure. They recognize that. We'll see what kind of effort they come out with against Columbus on Saturday, a team they lost to as a big favorite at home last week. The Blue Jackets plus 198 according to the projection model. Of course, the Blue Jackets now without Boone Jenner and Patrick Laine. But the Leafs, I mean, man, this team, they are just, let's call it what they're ass. Anyway, Detroit in New Jersey. The model thinks the Devils should be a minus 177 favorite. Of course, the Devils coming off a beatdown at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers at home on Thursday night. The Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that I've been fading quite often, a team that I don't think is as good as the market has made them over the last several weeks. They're a minus 111 favorite against the Senators, another team that I don't think is as good as people think they are, losing their second game since making the coaching change. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Mikhail Sergachev still out of the lineup. They're a 54% favorite against the Washington Capitals. They should win that game 54% of the time. Minus 117 according to the projection model. Washington plus 117 after their overtime win over the Blue Jackets. And what a scene. Tom Wilson, Elvis Merzlikins getting into it. The Caps all chirping Merzlikins after Ovechkin hammers home that overtime goal. Pretty funny scene. And then Merzlikins couldn't do anything but shake his head as he skated off the ice. So that was funny. The Buffalo Sabres, they're in New York taking on the Rangers. Looks like Jonathan Quick is going to start for the Rangers against the Oilers. Saw a big movement, big line change in the odds there. But Buffalo, after that big performance against the Leafs, they're in New York on Saturday looking to take out the rival New York Rangers. But this Buffalo team, we saw a great example. Columbus comes into Buffalo, spanks them. They play Toronto. They spank the Leafs. Just a wide range of outcomes here with the Buffalo Sabres. They can play like an offensive powerhouse, which we saw on Thursday or earlier this week against the Blue Jackets. They can play like the worst team in the league. Jordan Greenway back for the Sabres, and when he's healthy, I do think the Sabres need some of what he brings to the lineup. So that is a good addition to the lineup. The Seattle Kraken, there's actually some value here. You're looking at Seattle minus 143 at NorthStar Bets right now. Minus 157 according to the projection model. I'm not sure if Leo Carlsson is going to be in the Ducks lineup. He left Thursday's game against the Calgary Flames. The Ducks have been, protecting him. Some load management with Leo Carlsson. He is, arguably the most important player in their franchise right now. So, yeah, maybe he will not play against Seattle on Saturday. I'm going to wait and see because he is a difference maker. He's a goal scorer, so I don't want to make a mistake here. And the Kraken, not necessarily a team. I know they've been playing well recently. Not necessarily a team I'm looking to lay chalk on frequently, even against a team like the Ducks, the Blackhawks, and the St. Louis Blues. Minus 224 according to the projection model in favor of the Blues, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Colorado Avalanche. This is another one I want to talk about here because, of course, Colorado and Arizona, they'll both have had one day off. Colorado, they got the job done for me on Thursday night, as I mentioned, versus the Senators, but my God, was it a sweat. Did not like that. I'm not opposed to buying low on the Avs in a spot where it is a buy low spot, but this is not that. Colorado, they posted a 48.85 mark in expected goals percentage over the last month in all situations, basically on par with a team like Arizona. And believe it or not, the Coyotes have better goaltending. So I'm going to lock in Arizona 1/2 unit play. So 0.5 units at plus 195. And that's going to be my second bet for Saturday. Probably my final bet, to be honest. I mean, we're heading into the break here. Like I said, I'm not going to force anything. Look, people want picks. I get it. But you want winning picks. You want picks that actually contain some value. And if I can't dish out a ton of that, I'm not going to make stuff up. I'm going to give you guys what you came for. So plus 195, that's a half unit play. As I said, I'm not opposed to buying low on the Avalanche, but this is not that, and I'm going to bet against the Avs here. The Coyotes, they've already got a win over Colorado recently, so let's see if they can do it again. Half unit play to win 0.975 units. So, realistically, if we can go 2-0 on Saturday with these two underdogs, could come out ahead more than 1.5 units of profit. So that would be nice and a good way to head into the break. But we've got the Flyers, the Oilers, and the Canadiens all playing on the second half of a back-to-back on Friday. The Rangers, they've got 2 days off against the Oilers, and the Blackhawks have got 2 days off against the Canadiens. On Saturday, we've got 4 teams playing on back-to-back. We've got Boston playing their second game in as many nights. We've got the Red Wings playing 2 games in 2 nights. We've also got the Rangers and the Blackhawks playing the second half of a back-to-back. The Kings, they have 2 days off. The Islanders have 2 days off. And the Seattle Kraken have 2 days off, which has a little bit to do with maybe why there's an edge showing there against the Anaheim Ducks. And every other team pretty much, every other team has 1 day off heading into Saturday, so not a lot of rest mismatches there. The Minnesota Wild, they've got 1 day off, but they are playing their 4th game in 6 days, so playing a lot of hockey recently, shorthanded, without some of their most important players, mainly on defense, and that is something to watch out for there. But that pretty much does it for this episode of the Puck Portfolio. I know it was a quick one, but hey, we got right to the point. I really think that Saturday is ugly. There are some tough prices out here, so I think people have to kind of step back sometimes and just ask yourself, is this the slate where I'm gonna beat the books? I don't know. So hopefully after the holidays things start to pick up and we'll keep rolling. I'm sure they will because we've still got a lot of hockey left to play this season and it's gonna be a good one. So thanks for joining me so far in 2023. We've got a little bit left, and then we're going to be into 2024, heading towards the All-Star break and the trade deadline and all that stuff, all the way up to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we'll be here on weekdays. So subscribe to the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel if you have not already. Please like this video if you have had a profitable NHL season or if you've just enjoyed the content. And until then, you can keep your eyes peeled to canadasportsbetting.ca for picks for December 27th. I'm Andy MacNeil. I will see you next week. Take care. Happy holidays.